manager?
No.
Tonight, KCAL investigates gun dealers.
Guns that left turn were used in crimes.
And what they're not saying
Okay. You just pushed her.
about police guns they've bought back that somehow have wound up on crime scenes by the thousands.
What would you say to his mom? Do you feel you have any responsibility? Has any of this given you pause?
Extremely tragic.
Assaults and shootings and stabbings all aboard Metro. Now an in-depth analysis of Metro's own crime data.
Yeah, and that's so disturbing.
And our exclusive ride with the new board chair
How are you?
that arrives at an actual solution.
Are there enough police watching over the system? Or we didn't see a single deputy. Are they riding the buses?
What is the holdup in getting the drivers what they need?
Months after the Monterey Park Dance Hall massacre. And now, for the first time, this detective on scene reveals how this gun was traced to the suspect so quickly.
Better be lucky than good.
As we uncover a bad problem with the gun trace system.
So you were just right place, right time.
That's really 1 in a million, isn't it?
Does it stall out your cases sometimes?
Controversy brewing with Starbucks Recycling. We trace their plastic cold cups here and across the country. Even follow trash trucks to show you where some are ending up.
Do you feel like a detective?
I do.
The results may make you gulp.
Well, this is the last place that you wanted your plastic cup to show up.
Do you actually do it here? Do you melt it down here?
When someone drops this in a Starbucks recycle bin, should they expect that this gets recycled?
And arriving at hope.
People just started showing up.
An exclusive look inside our migrant bus crisis.
And you need this much space.
How many came, how immigrants themselves helped solve it, and why now they're only shedding tears for the man who sent them.
What was your reaction? 1,300 successes, this trap as you call it, has really led to transformation.
From the desert to the sea to the very center of downtown Los Angeles right here, 18.5 million people call this home. Hello everyone, I'm Ross Palombo. We begin tonight with a story that touches every single one of us, involving police and guns and your money. Our 2-year investigation found that thousands of guns once owned by police eventually wound up at crime scenes. 52,000 guns across the entire country, and some of those from right here. The reason a majority of police agencies we spoke with don't just protect and serve, they protect and sell right back to the gun dealers.
How you doing? Are you the manager?
No.
Are you the manager?
A gun dealer.
Guns that left turn were used in crimes, though. Are you?
Not taking our questions.
Yeah. Okay. You just pushed her.
A family feeling the pain from a deputy's former weapon.
There's no reason for police firearms to be in the hands of young teenagers.
And a sheriff
It does get frustrating.
caught in the middle of firearm sales
The human being is the one that pulled the triggers, not the gun.
that may be perfectly legal,
It has nothing to do with law enforcement selling their guns.
but may also lead to lethal results.
It's a sad, sad state of affairs. You never thought this would be the last thing that you would see.
The Brown family last saw their son here, half a country away in Indianapolis.
His girlfriend called me screaming.
19-year-old Cameron was shot to death.
She's like, Cameron, he won't get up, he won't get up.
His mother identifying the body from a lifeless photo.
And he finally showed me a camera picture, and it was him.
Now, nearly 3 years later, all she has left
This is the best picture.
are the pictures and the questions over how a gun recovered at the scene of his murder made its way here. All the way from Modesto, California, from the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department.
I don't know how, I don't know. They're supposed to be protecting, they're supposed to be making sure that we are protected and serving us, but now their firearms, how'd they get on the streets?
What would you say to his mom?
So I would say I'm very sorry for your loss, but My organization had nothing to do with it.
But Sheriff Jeff Dirkse's organization does deal in weapons.
You sell your guns back.
Like nearly 90% of the 164 law enforcement agencies we've spoken with across the country, they legally sell or trade their old guns to help pay for newer ones to safeguard lives.
And that saves the taxpayer money, right? It is a cost benefit to the department.
Sales records we've obtained show they've benefited by selling their weapons at least 654 times from 2003 to 2023.
Every transaction that you do is completely legal.
Yes.
Once you sell this gun to a dealer, do you feel you have any responsibility beyond that?
I don't, because that dealer also does a legal sale. Pistol, shotgun, rifle, they all go to one dealer over in San Jose. I don't actually know why we use that dealer, but we do.
That dealer is LC Action Police Supply, and ATF records obtained through Brady's Gun Store Transparency Project show it's been cited at least 14 times from 2015 to 2018 for things like failure to record all required information regarding NICS DROS checks. That's a failure with the National Instant Criminal History Background Check System and the dealer's record of sale. Those alleged violations prompted the feds to issue this warning letter in 2015, saying future violations may result in the revocation of their license.
Problems in the past?
Out of how many years and how many thousands of guns have they dealt with? No, it does not.
Our investigation found, though, that 2 of those guns that the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department sold to LC Action eventually wound up on crime scenes. It's unclear how many times they changed hands after leaving the dealer, but one of those guns eventually arriving at the murder scene of Cameron Brown. It's something LC Action Supply didn't want to talk about.
Are you the manager?
I'm with CBS.
How's it going?
CBS.
Yeah, you guys can't be in here right now.
We can't be in here?
No, you gotta walk outside.
We'll leave. It's about some guns that left here and were used in crimes, though. Are you following up on all the paperwork here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sir,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
You don't have
Are
permission to film here.
But don't assault my...
I didn't assault her.
You just pushed her.
I turned the camera.
You just pushed her.
No.
They start out often with a licensed dealer, and those guns end up getting recovered in crime.
The largest and oldest anti-gun violence group in the country says a small fraction of dealers in general plays a critical role in guns somehow getting to crime scenes.
They're being sold legally. Is there a problem there?
Yes, there is a problem. A law enforcement agency may be selling to a dealer that is going to potentially violate the law, have that gun trafficked, and end up being used potentially against you. So from a taxpayer standpoint, that really does not make a lot of sense.
Here in Southern California, several agencies also sell or trade firearms. The Orange County Sheriff's Department right here has sold 3,500 of them. In San Bernardino County, our investigation found the sheriff's office here traded or sold 2,667 firearms.
In Ventura County, the sheriff's office here has sold or traded 472 firearms.
The Los Angeles Police Department has sold or traded at least 855 firearms. And in the past, the LA County Sheriff's Department has also sold or traded 7,200 firearms, but that has now changed. After getting more than 1,600 firearms from dozens of buyback events like this.
Your whole goal is to get more guns off the streets. That is correct.
Program sponsor, Supervisor Janice Hahn, was stunned to learn that the county was simultaneously doing the opposite.
You realize that the county is actually selling its guns.
I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. I'm trying to get guns off the street, and one of my own departments is keeping them and selling them.
But now her new ordinance sends all of the LA County Sheriff's Department's old guns here, straight to the shredder.
Do you think this is making a difference on the streets of Los Angeles?
I do. To get that gun responsibly destroyed and melted down, to me, is as good as it gets.
But within the county, LAPD still does sell its guns.
Are you concerned where these guns you're selling are winding up?
Something Interim Chief Dominic Choi hasn't commented on.
We've been trying to reach you for weeks on this, sir.
But Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco had plenty to say. His deputies actually buy and sell their own weapons.
It's just a way to recoup money. The evil person will always find a way. It has nothing to do with guns.
Does anything need to change with how these guns are sold?
Absolutely not.
Has any of this given you pause to maybe reconsider what the county is doing? No.
When you look at the millions of guns that are sold across America in any given year, the gun sold by a law enforcement agency is quite frankly a drop in the bucket to that.
Out of those millions,
And this is him here.
this family felt that drop.
One more gun on the street actually changed our lives forever.
And that has left them with a lifetime of tears.
I just want my voice to be heard. This is wrong. They should do something about it.
Again, police selling guns back to dealers is legal. The vast majority of dealers then legally sell them. LC Action Police Supply is legally operating and in good standing as far as we can tell, with a federal license still in place. None of their 14 violations are related to the 2 guns we traced to crime scenes, and we've seen nothing to suggest that they were involved in any illegal sales related to these guns. Well, our story got some dramatic results. Taxpayers spend $5 billion a year on these police guns. Since our investigation, several cities use that fact to take action. San Diego was the first in the country to create a law stopping police from buying guns from dealers that break the law. And after our story, the county and city of Los Angeles both enacted similar laws.
As a result of your story and bringing that to my attention, we now feel so much better.
I want to thank you for your reporting, because it was in fact your story about San Diego's ordinance that sparked me to have the idea to adopt that.
And our investigations have helped in many other ways. Coming up, attack after attack on our metro system, leading to a first-of-its-kind look at the entire problem.
I didn't see a single deputy.
Okay.
Is that something you need to change?
The sheriff now taking the tough questions.
There was a stabbing on this bus line. You remember that incident?
And the new head of Metro climbs aboard with us to arrive at a solution in real time.
It's on this bus.
Yeah, I know. So, I have a real problem.
You're watching KCAL News as we investigate. Our metro system, reaching out from downtown and across Los Angeles, offers service for 1,447 square miles. It is enormous, but sometimes so are the problems. Now, for the very first time, we've dug directly into Metro's own data to see precisely how safe riders actually are. And after a board member said she herself was too afraid to ride, we asked brand new board chair Janice Hahn to take a trip to see the situation decades after her own father, Kenny Hahn, helped build the system.
Extremely, extremely tragic.
A woman stabbed to death at a metro station in Universal City.
It's not just about the numbers.
Another woman stabbed in a South LA metro elevator just before 2 people were then stabbed aboard a metro bus in Glendale.
It's the feeling of safety.
And another man's safety shattered during a metro bus stabbing in Linwood.
They're all sitting right over there. That's quite a tap. I look down, I'm bleeding quite heavily.
Jerry Randall survived, but still bears the scar.
It's in my mind.
And in his mind, even though the attack is now in the rearview mirror, it still seems so close.
Are you nervous being on the bus? No?
Well, a little.
And he and all Metro riders have more than a little reason to feel that way. Our analysis of the last 12 months of Metro's available data shows that when it comes to violent crime across the entire system, it's up 33% compared to pre-pandemic levels. The majority happening here on rail. During the last 6 months, there was 1 violent crime for every 55,000 riders. On buses, violent crime is 5 times less likely, hitting 1 out of every 300,000 riders.
Yeah, and that's so
disturbing.
And new Metro Chair Janice Hahn is so disturbed, she agreed to ride the system with us.
And I want to see
through her district.
What's going on for myself.
So on this very line in your district,
How are you?
just a few stops from here, there was a stabbing on this bus line. You remember that incident?
Yes.
Just a few weeks ago.
Yes, that's horrifying.
It's on this bus.
Yeah, I know. So, I have a real problem that we can't figure out how to address keeping weapons off of our system.
On the system in early July, a bus had to be evacuated after a man was found sleeping, allegedly with a gun hanging out of his waistband. Our analysis shows in the last 12 months of available data, reports of weapons have increased nearly 3 times more than pre-pandemic levels.
I'd like to see us figure out some way to keep people from bringing weapons on our system. I think we need to address that.
So maybe metal detectors at bus stops?
Something.
Maybe wanding at bus stops?
Something.
You're looking into
I
that.
am looking into that.
Metro has also been looking into keeping drivers safe after 160 assaults last year and 61 so far this year. During a spike in April, 3 drivers were attacked in less than a week.
Many drivers say that they've been promised these barriers for years and are just now getting them. What is the holdup in getting the drivers what they need?
Well, whatever the reason for the holdup is, it's unacceptable. It's rolling out. They said they will all be installed by the end of the year.
This bus did have one, but what was missing for both drivers and passengers was a visible police presence.
We will aggressively address that.
Promised by Mayor and former Metro Chair Karen Bass.
Good morning, everyone.
Weeks ago.
I directed an immediate surge, an increase of patrols, increased visibility.
Are there enough police watching over the system? There are no police here on this bus. We didn't see any at the bus stop.
I want to see them on the bus. I want to see uniformed law enforcement officers regularly rotating buses and trains.
When I was with the supervisor, we didn't see a single deputy.
That's unfortunate.
Sheriff Robert Luna's deputies not only patrol that bus, but patrol 900 square miles of bus lines and 90 miles of rail, covering 95 cities across LA County.
It's been a rough few years on Metro.
Well, yes.
Do you think visibility and being on the buses themselves is an issue?
It's our priority.
Are they riding the buses?
Yes. Well, there are times where they jump on a bus, but to cover the buses because of the vast geographical area we cover, they're in cars to get there as quickly as possible when things are occurring.
Their own data from 1 week in June, though, shows that out of 16,752 GPS-validated snapshots or locations captured, deputies boarded buses 659 times and actually took bus rides 39 times.
When I was riding by myself, I didn't see a single deputy.
Okay.
Is that something you need to change?
We're always looking at what we're doing.
The sheriff says they are doing better since surging their staff. They've raised their activity from around 14,000 snapshots in April to more than 16,000 in May, while cutting the crime surge by nearly 2/3.
Since we surged our staffing, the crime stats are dropping.
Metro's lucky to have you.
But even buses are far safer, statistically,
I love the bus driver.
than the Metro trains. The Red Line's violent crime rate per rider alone was 6 times higher than the entire bus system's rate in the last 6 months.
That's unacceptable.
The most crime-ridden of all the lines.
So, having said that, I would have hoped we would have seen some law enforcement riding. Where are they?
LAPD patrols this area.
So now we're at MacArthur Park Station.
Here, we not only saw Metro ambassadors, but also did see officers on patrol.
You see the difference in this station. Yeah, for sure.
And not only during the day, but even when we came back at night to check.
It feels really clean and safe. So I feel like We've had a transformation here at MacArthur Park. You let us know, what you need.
Okay, thank you.
Now on both rail and bus, not far from these crime scenes. The new Metro chair says she now understands those needs.
What do you say to the family of the victim on this very bus?
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this very bus will be safe in the future.
For all of those who sit here,
Were you afraid?
Yeah, I was afraid.
sometimes afraid in their seats.
You have faith it's going to get better.
Right.
Since we first looked at that year of data, Metro now says crime in some categories is actually down. Metro is also creating its own police force to replace LA County deputies, LA County Police and Long Beach Police that are currently patrolling the system. That change out and transition is going to take some 5 years. Well, as you just heard, the Metro chair actually brainstormed the idea of trying metal detectors for passenger safety during our interview. And since then, they've started testing those systems. The red boxes here show Metro exactly where suspicious items may be. This pilot program launched at Union Station.
When we first rode the bus together, that this was a concept that I was interested in, and at that point it didn't seem like it was going to be possible. It's clear that we've made a lot of progress in keeping people safe on Metro.
Well, coming up, we're going to shift gears now from your travel to what you may be taking with you along a journey. Plastic to-go cups from Starbucks. They say they're being recycled, so we track them right here and across the entire country. And the results may make you gulp.
Should they expect that this gets recycled?
You're watching KCAL News as we investigate. The environmental movement was born in California, and we're proud to say here that we are top performers. But are Southern California businesses really top-notch recyclers? Starbucks uses plastic cold cups and encourages customers to throw them into its recycling bins, but 2 Orange County women actually came up with the idea of tracking them. And our investigation took that idea across the entire country to track down the truth about recycling.
This is like full-on mittens weather. I don't have any mittens.
Long before dawn.
Good morning.
Before the pulling of a single espresso shot. Before the pouring in the pitchers and the stirring and shaking and steaming. Before all of this caffeine wakes up Southern California.
Kathy said, thanks for coming back. Good to see you guys again.
Something else has been brewing in this Starbucks parking lot, giving environmentalists their own caffeine charge.
You're waiting for?
Waiting for the trash truck.
Trash is typically the end of the fast food line.
I knew that I needed to get involved.
But for retired high-tech exec Susan Keefe and her partner,
I mean, it's personal in some ways.
this trash was just the beginning.
I needed data. I needed proof.
Okay. They've spent months collecting Starbucks plastic cold cups,
Push it down.
pushing in GPS tags, gluing them to the bottles, and then dropping them in Starbucks' own recycle bins.
Right now, I've got 2 trackers.
From there, they track them by phone.
Here comes the truck.
And by following some garbage trucks.
There's a possibility my tracker's there.
Do you feel like a detective?
I do.
During her long investigation, she lost some trackers, even lost some trucks.
I didn't want to run the red light.
But in the end, she says they still discovered exactly where these recyclables were winding up.
So when you are following these trucks,
Yes.
you're following them to see if they're coming here.
Correct.
And are they?
Yes.
Well, this is the last place that you wanted your plastic
This
cups
is
to
the
show
last
up.
place, yes.
When someone drops this in a Starbucks recycle bin, should they expect that this gets recycled?
They're being fooled.
From her plastics-filled garage loaded with other recycling claims she's looking into,
Some of these are like, 20 years old.
former chemical engineer Jan Dell says almost no one actually recycles this type of plastic.
They're being lied to. These are not flat out lied. These are not recyclable. There are not factories that want these.
What makes this plastic particularly hard to recycle?
It cannot be ground up and made back into a cup because the plastic becomes toxic and gray and stinky.
She came up with the idea 5 months ago.
If I don't do it, no one's going to do it.
To dive into these dumpsters.
It's just flat out lying.
And reveal what they came up with. All 12 of their recyclable cups, they say, were tracked to landfills in 4 states.
And it's provable, right?
To see what it may prove, we dropped a cup with a tracker at a Starbucks in East LA. And we tracked it for 1.5 miles to this facility.
The Waste Transfer Center.
On the way to landfill.
The cup we dropped in Hollywood was tracked for 13 miles to another waste transfer center in Sun Valley that's also a materials recovery center. And the cup we dropped in Beverly Hills was tracked for nearly 18 miles to this materials recovery facility, also in Sun Valley.
It's PP5, so yeah, we'll recycle that here.
Do you actually do it here? Do you melt it down here?
No, we just recover it and then obviously we'll ship it out.
Could that one have been recycled?
Very unlikely. Why? There's no factories that want to buy it.
LA was just one of 18 cities where CBS News dropped cups into a total of 57 labeled Starbucks recycling bins. We were able to find possible locations for 36 of those. Only 4 pinged at locations that appeared to be recovery facilities and could possibly have been recycled. 13 at waste transfer stations, 5 at incinerators, and 14 pinged at locations that appeared to be landfills.
That is unacceptable. It's disappointing.
Disappointing, Starbucks says, but insisting their cups can be recycled.
No, they're recyclable. They are recyclable.
They believe that mixed materials or possible contamination and an outside system out of their control are all possible explanations.
There are a number of things that get in the way of making sure that a recyclable cup ends up where it's intended. Once it leaves our stores, there is a landlord, a building owner, other tenants in the building. There is an infrastructure that takes that away, and that is largely outside of Starbucks.
But Starbucks isn't the only store we sampled. We tagged and tracked a plastic cup at Erewhon that last pinged near the landfill in Rialto. We also tagged and tracked plastic bags at Home Depot that last pinged at an Antelope Valley landfill.
Vast majority of plastics are not recyclable.
What percentage of plastics is ever even recycled?
In the United States, only 5%.
The most wasteful, Dell believes, are single-use plastics, like the Starbucks cold cups.
They are one of many, but they are at the top of the pyramid because they are proactively promoting the lie in their stores. It is their product, their bin, in their store. That is a claim, a legal claim to the public that that thing should be recycled.
In California, are they breaking the law?
I believe they are.
Starbucks denies it.
To the extent that we can influence and help guarantee that those cups end up where they're intended, we're attempting to do, but it's a shared accountability.
But none of these answers is stopping this chemical engineer in her tracks.
When is your job going to be done?
My #1 goal is to get companies to stop lying about their plastics.
And empty these shelves.
And empty these shelves.
But until she can.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
She and her partner.
And I'm not a morning person, so.
Have plenty of caffeine to keep them going.
Is this what it takes?
I think, unfortunately, this is what it takes, yeah. To prove that a massive company the size of Starbucks is deceiving their customers.
Keep in mind that although we tried to trace plastic cups in 18 cities, Starbucks is a global company, and these represent only a fraction of their stores. And our results are not indicative of the entire chain. Home Depot says its plastic bags are recyclable and says that our tracker may have been sorted out somehow by employees and then thrown away on their own. Erewhon says its cups are sorted as thoroughly as possible and maintains they are also recyclable. The company they use is called Athens, and 2 of our trackers went to their facilities. Athens also maintains that the cups are recyclable, but repeatedly declined to tell us exactly where that happens or what company is doing the recycling. We also tracked recyclables from our own bins at the KCAL News, CBS News Broadcast Center, and you can see where those wound up by going to our website, kcalnews.com. Well, coming up, allegations of attendance fraud, empty classrooms with your taxes still used to pay the full bill.
Something is amiss.
Mr. Carvalho, you don't want to talk about this for taxpayers?
Why won't LA school districts speak about your money? You're watching KCAL News as we investigate. LAUSD is the largest school system in the state, second largest in the entire country, with an $18 billion budget. Now, there are more allegations of problems involving students, attendance, and ultimately your tax money that could affect as much as a third of their middle schools. And in school, attendance is everything. It's valuable lesson time. It's so parents know exactly where their kids are, and it's how schools are funded with your tax dollars. But those who are in charge of all of these things are still refusing to talk about it.
Come on. Shouldn't there be an audit, sir? Mr. Carvalho, you don't want to talk about this for taxpayers?
LA's superintendent remaining silent.
Does the district not care about attendance fraud?
The district spokesperson slipping through a door.
It's a simple question, sir. Is there attendance fraud happening here?
I'm going to refer you to the office of...
Even a principal sidestepping our questions after more allegations of serious attendance issues at LAUSD, now potentially involving thousands of students.
Do you feel the superintendent had let you down?
They didn't do their job.
Dozens of schools.
Do you think the state superintendent let you down?
There's no question.
And an untold amount of money and resources.
Did you feel that the entire district had let you down?
Yeah. Where's the investigation?
The district first said it would investigate here at Madison Middle School.
Something is amiss.
After teacher Dan Chang said someone changed his attendance records, marking his students present when his classroom was actually empty the day after they graduated or culminated. Chang says his principal later explained by email that this is how the district deals with the culmination.
Attendance is revenue.
How important is it?
It's everything. Like students in seat. If they're there, that is how you are funded.
Schools are funded by average daily attendance. The state says on average it pays schools $111 per student per day. For its 462 eighth graders, Madison would have received about $51,282 tax dollars for that one day.
Was it fraud?
I believe so.
How big of a problem do you think this is?
I suspect this is a $1 million problem every year going all the way back.
8 months back, when we first raised this issue with LAUSD,
Have a good day, Mama.
the district claimed the money was actually extremely small, even sent out a recorded message to parents.
Does not impact receipt of average daily attendance funding.
Claiming it had launched an investigation.
Further investigation into the matter has begun.
And quickly concluding that this was an isolated incident.
Inconsistent with district policy.
Like, I didn't believe it when they said it to me, and I don't believe it now.
And you're familiar with the attendance system.
And with that system, this math teacher again checked the numbers for 15 more schools.
And what did you find?
There are at least 2 schools that have the exact same pattern as Madison.
What percentage of the 15 had this problem?
2 out of 15 is 13 1/3%.
So what do you believe is the scope of the true problem? How big is it across the district?
I think it's probably like 100, 150 schools, maybe 200 schools.
Is that a lot of money?
It is a lot of money.
And that money may be a marker, he believes, of an even bigger problem. He found none, 0% of the 353 eighth graders here at Porter Middle School were reported absent the day after their culmination. 100% were certified present. Their principal wouldn't comment. And he again found 0% of Daniel Pearl High School's 55 seniors were reported absent on the day after they graduated.
The graduating class.
100% of them were marked as present under Principal Armand Petrosian.
Your entire senior class marked present the day after graduation.
I'm going to refer you to the office of...
You don't want to answer yourself as the principal?
0 absences. Every single kid came back to school after they graduated.
And you don't buy it?
No.
Does that set off an alarm?
Yes, it's almost impossible.
And Mike Fine knows because he leads the state team that's called in to do forensic audits on schools.
Looking at the actual data and seeing that it's not limited to just this one teacher's school is a concern. It calls into question, are there other days in the year that the school or through instruction from the district asked the schools to mark all kids present.
To help answer that question, we requested district-wide attendance records for June 9th, 2023. And it took 8 months, even our attorney stepping in, before LAUSD finally released them.
I am concerned that they are struggling to produce really simple data you've asked for.
The data shows out of LAUSD's 142 middle schools, 120 of them, that's 85%, reported 100% attendance and 0 absences on that same single day.
Does that set off an alarm?
Yes, it's almost impossible.
Of those, 43 schools reported that 100% of their students were back in class the day after they graduated. That is 6,884 students coming back to class the day after graduation, enough to fill nearly 96 of these school buses, nearly 3 times the amount that's here in this lot right now, and earning LAUSD $764,013 tax dollars.
I think somebody at LA Unified should talk about it. I don't think silence does anybody any good.
Sir, District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho, who has said absenteeism is his priority, has been silent from the beginning.
Is that how it should be done at LAUSD?
If students are absent, they're marked absent.
State Superintendent Tony Thurman has spoken, though, and said 8 months ago that he would do something.
Shouldn't there be an audit to see if this is happening in more than one school?
I think whenever there's any instance, even the slightest suggestion of wrongdoing, it should be investigated and reviewed and audited, because we cannot have that in our system.
Do you think it was reviewed and audited?
Clearly not.
The attendance fraud case.
Okay.
Now,
how did things end up? I don't even.
Thurman appears to be surprised about these new allegations after having trusted the district he supervises to investigate itself on the older ones.
Should there be an audit now, this time?
The only way that an audit can happen is if there is a request from the county superintendent.
My goodness. He can't even figure out attendance fraud at a school district when the evidence is presented. Absurd.
It's why teacher Dan Chang
and LA Unified did not monitor attendance,
has been presenting the evidence himself.
Fraud, waste, and abuse that I spoke about
during his recent run for school board.
text messaging.
Are you sure there's not fraud in the school, sir?
And while some choose to stay silent,
what did you say about attendance fraud?
He says he won't stop barking.
Definitely gnaws at me.
Until this not so complicated math problem
It just sticks in your hair.
is dragged out into the open and solved, not only for his fellow Bulldogs.
What's the lesson for them?
But for students everywhere.
Persevere. Have grit. We tell our kids, every single teacher tells their students that.
Well, despite losing his race for school board, Dan Chang simply wants a thorough investigation or audit to know exactly what's going on here. We want to be clear. Our investigation found dozens of schools claiming 100% attendance on a single day. The state auditor says that's, quote, almost impossible, but that's not proof of fraud or of how many kids actually were present that day. That's why Chang wants a full audit. LAUSD has said in the past that the money is not a factor here because of an accounting issue where attendance is actually average for the last few months of class. They add that they believe they've followed all the rules regarding student exit dates. You can read their full statement on KCALnews.com. Well, coming up, a new look at an infamous crime reveals the untold story of a lucky moment back then and a big problem for the future for all of us. The Monterey Park Dance Hall massacre ended with the suspect being quickly found. Now the detective that held the key is going to tell us his story.
It's what broke the case pretty much.
But all of it illustrating a bigger problem with gun tracing that we've uncovered. You're watching KCAL News as we investigate. Right here, we're standing just blocks away from LAPD and LA County Sheriff's headquarters. And this year, countywide, they responded to hundreds of homicides, many of them from shootings. Solving those shootings often relies on gun tracing, and our investigation has now learned why it can be so painfully slow. But in the infamous Monterey Park Dance Hall shooting, it actually worked faster than normal, and that is now giving authorities hope that the system can be improved.
too many people down.
Just after the innocent dancing descended into gunfire and gurneys and victims grasping for help.
I still can't believe that has actually happened.
And long before LA woke up to discover its worst mass shooting in history and a suspect dead in a van only 12 hours later.
And I feel for these people, this tragedy.
In these scared and uncertain moments in between.
Better be lucky than good.
Lucky detective Corey Fukumoto literally stumbled onto the scene.
And where the call came out, so we responded over here.
So you were just right place, right time.
Yeah.
And right here at the Lili Dance Hall, right after another lucky hero first got the gun away from the fleeing killer of 11 people, Fukumoto, here on the right, made a call on this gun, seen here for the first time, that would change everything.
Our patrol had already run the firearm and we didn't come back with a match in-house. So I contacted S.A. Catanzano and asked him if he could help me out with the trace.
It was probably about 1 in the morning.
Were you surprised when the phone rang?
I was.
Surprised because the two had only just spoken days before by chance and were now on another chance call that would surprise both of them.
I gave him the serial number of the firearm.
I put a phone call in to our tracing center.
He said he'd call me back.
From there, within, I believe it was a couple hours, we got that trace result back.
That led us to a named suspect. We later identified the vehicle of the suspect, and the names matched up.
The name was Hucan Tran, and his identity not only helped police find him quickly, but helped deliver a surprisingly quick result from the ATF's National Trace Center.
Typically, when you trace a gun, you're not expecting the information immediately, are you?
We are not.
And why is that?
The way the tracing center works, that information is not searchable in a method that we would get instant results.
At the center in West Virginia, our CBS investigation has detailed an astounding bureaucratic backlog. In these antiquated halls, there are hundreds of millions of paper records that many times need to be sorted through to trace a gun. All because the agency is handcuffed by a 1986 law preventing it from using an electronic database to easily search ownership records, resulting in delays 99% of the time of several days to weeks to sometimes months to find critical criminal details.
It's incredibly important. Every trace that we get tells a story of what took place, how that firearm was recovered.
It's so important, California is one of only 12 states that mandate all police agencies use it. And our investigation shows the state uses the Trace Center more than anywhere else in the country, with almost 42,000 traces in 2019, growing 26% to more than 56,000 in 2022. LA traces have surged by 35% over that same time frame. There have been thousands of traces also across Southern California in places like San Bernardino, Riverside, Victorville, and Ontario.
The more traces that we can get in there, the more stories we can identify, the more cases we can build and really identify traffickers and crime guns.
And it can be the key to a case.
It can be, absolutely.
But until the system is modernized, it often keeps critical information locked up for days, even sometimes dashing the luck of Detective Fukumoto.
It could be the difference between getting a filing on a case and not.
Does it stall out your cases sometimes?
Yes.
But in this case, this trace thankfully floated back on swift feet.
That's really 1 in a million, isn't it?
It's rare.
And while all hope the evil that walked in here remains rare,
I definitely feel safer now.
Until it is, agents and officers hope to trace these uncommon steps for future success.
In this instance, I mean, it was like, it's what broke the case pretty much. So it was like a 9-day difference for us.
You want all results to be like Monterey Park.
Yes, ideally.
If a crime happens.
Absolutely.
Again, that Monterey Park trace happened in just a matter of hours. During critical incidents, the ATF tries to return a trace in 1 to 2 days, but the vast majority do take much longer than that. There have been many attempts to fix the ATF system since the 80s. So far, though, none have succeeded. But across the Southland, we are covering Californians who are succeeding in very touching ways. A recent migrant bus crisis has been called a political trap. Hundreds sent from Texas to Los Angeles. Now, this woman is turning that into a triumph.
In what justice and fairness really means.
You're watching KCAL News as we investigate. For many months, LA was a beacon for buses filled with migrants arriving here from Texas. We've since learned that the lack of coordination and chaos was actually all deliberate. But we also now know that community groups here help bring it all under control. Our investigation for the first time showed us their work from the inside. They are moving images witnessed since May.
People just started showing up.
Migrants bust out of Texas and arriving in controversy.
It was created chaos. Unnecessary created chaos, I would say.
But in these heartbreaking scenes, Gurlane Joseph has always seen hope.
And what was your reaction?
What can I do? How do I show up to make sure people are okay?
For months, she has been there, starting care where some intended hope to end at these big city bus stops.
So when these buses come to LA, you're the ones who are there to greet them.
We are.
You're the ones making the difference.
We are. We have a coalition of organizations. Together, we come to answer to the need of people.
And that need has inspired an entirely new network of help. Born out of necessity, it is now the backbone of a nationwide effort.
People like me, Americans like me, have come together around the country. In LA, we are receiving people. In San Diego, we are receiving people. In New York, in Chicago, in Denver.
By working together, their reach has even extended into Texas and Mexico. And now a migration of vital information arrives in America First, paving and preparing the way for travelers in need.
You know when they're coming.
We know what to expect and how to receive them.
You know that there is a bus coming to LA in the next few hours.
Because of the network we have been able to build, right?
And that helps you prepare.
To help prepare.
That key preparation, we've now learned through new numbers obtained from Texas, has helped more than 90,000 migrants arrive, the most going to New York, Chicago, and Denver.
There's only one reason why this is happening.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Joseph says, designed it all to hurt democratically led cities.
He has laid a trap.
So in many ways, the true story is that this trap, as you call it, has really led to transformation.
Absolutely. And that is exactly where we are. And we are seeing that here in California. And we are seeing it around the country, that what was meant to really degrade, migrants and asylum seekers has been turned around into a way to fuel the country to become a welcoming community.
She has welcomed so many here in Southern California.
We are literally opening a first of its kind community center.
A new center just to keep up.
You have thousands of square feet now to do it.
Yes.
And you need this much space.
We need this much space and more.
More space and more staff.
We currently have 2 legal assistants here.
For more help.
And all these boxes and all this new office space is because so many of these buses are coming from Texas.
Yes, really growing and building capacity to welcome folks with compassion, dignity, and love.
Since May, we've learned Los Angeles has welcomed 1,300 people from Texas buses. And Joseph says organizations like hers have connected the vast majority with their sponsors or found them places to stay.
Do you think 1,300 successes?
I think 1,300 miracles. And we are hoping to turn into successes. And I know for a fact that 5 years from now, they might be sitting with you.
Maybe they'll be helping the next wave.
They will be helping the next wave. And you will see some here. Our staff, they came here 5 years, now they're giving back.
Like you are.
But the tears, she says, are not actually for them or for immigrants like herself.
The tears for me is mostly for people like Abbott.
For his buses, she says, and his heart that she believes is also on a journey.
So he can know the love in the joy that I have come to know by meeting those people in what justice and fairness really means.
Very, very emotional, as this entire issue has been, of course. Now, she represents one of about 10 groups who have been helping in Los Angeles. The mayor and the city have actually been unwilling to discuss their cooperation with us in detail. Well, it has been a long journey reporting out these stories. Thank you so much for joining me. You can always reach me directly at KCAL Investigates at CBS.com. For all of KCAL News, I'm Ross Palombo.